Hey guys, welcome back to more political chatter. Today we will be talking about the 2026 midterm elections once again and how Democrats are truly on pace for a record breaking performance in 2026, really like nothing we have ever seen in recent political history. By many metrics, including things such as special elections, they are on track to outpace their margin even from 2018. Remember, 2018 was the midterm under the first Trump term when Democrats did very well, widely considered a blue wave nationwide. This was the result in 2018 in the House of Representatives, where Democrats scored 235 seats to the Republicans 200, a comfortable 35-seat margin there in the House. This was widely regarded as a historic, a huge win for the Democratic Party. I mean, just look at some of these seats that were close in the House. West Virginia's second, West Virginia's third were 11 and 12 points. New York's 23rd was an 8-point win. It was a very good performance for the Democratic Party. And come 2026, Democrats are expected to at least meet how they did in 2018, if not outpace their performance in 2018. After 2024, which is the map that you're looking at right now, the 2024 results, there are quite a few seats that Democrats are looking at as potential flips. There are many, many seats, many of which they won in 2022, flipped back in 2024. And that's because what we know about midterm elections is much different than what we knew about them 4 years ago. Republicans were always considered to do better in midterm elections because they had won the higher propensity voters in the past, meaning voters who are more engaged, more involved, and who turn out more often in elections, including minor elections like these local elections like midterms. However, in 2022, that all changed. What we knew about midterm elections completely changed, where Democrats blew expectations out of the water. They were expected to lose upwards of 40 seats in the US House when in reality they lost 10. They just lost 10. They went from 222 to 213. They heavily outperformed. In fact, they gained. They flipped a seat in the Senate. They won the Senate 51 to 49. And that is because we did not expect these more higher propensity voters, these voters who turn out more often in presidential elections, we did not expect them to vote for the Democratic Party, but they did in incredibly high numbers. These higher propensity voters, these more wealthy voters, are switching to the Democratic side, clearly sour over Donald Trump. Their attitude has clearly changed when it comes to Donald Trump. So looking at 2026, if Democrats did so well in 2022, under a Trump midterm, they're going to, perform phenomenally at this rate. So Democrats can look to a lot of Republican seats as potential flips. Look at Virginia, a state with a notoriously high amount of high propensity voters, wealthy, upper class, well-educated voters who turn out, who put, high value in voting, who turn out very often in elections. I look to Virginia's 2nd congressional district, where the incumbent Republican Jen Kiggins won re-election in 2024 by 3.8%. That should be quite an easy flip for the Democratic Party. We could flip that to a lean margin, which is a 1 to 5% margin. I won't even touch Texas and California, by the way. Who knows what's going to go on with redistricting? They will probably cancel each other out the way things are going right now, 5 seats each. The second seat I look to, is Iowa's 1st district, where somehow Marionette Miller Meeks, MMM, won in 2020 by, look at that, 0.0015%, which was I'm pretty sure it was 6 votes. I know that sounds insane, but I'm pretty sure if I remember, it was 6 votes that she won by. Or I'll put that in quotes, won by. There was no recount. And then in 2024, she hangs on again by 0.19%. That should be the first flip that Democrats take in 2026. I would be willing to put it by a likely margin. Remember in 2018, Democrats won 3 out of 4 congressional seats in Iowa. That was kind of insane. I also looked at Iowa's 3rd district, where Zach Nunn is the incumbent, and he only won by 4% in 2024. Not too good of a margin. And in 2022, he won by less than a percentage point. He ousted an incumbent, Sidney Axney. So this would be a seat Democrats should look for to flip. Of course, an easy flip, I'm putting it at a likely margin, over 5% margin, should be Nebraska's 2nd district. Don Bacon hung on in 2024. Kamala Harris won this district, but Don Bacon hung on by 2 points. In 2022, he hung on by 3 points. But he is retiring. He has proven to be an very electorally strong, but he is out in 2026. He is not running again. That should be an easy flip for the Democrats. Democrats have already taken majority just like that. They're already at 219 seats. It's easy as that. I also look to Pennsylvania's 10th congressional district, where Scott Perry won, but it was by a surprisingly close margin in 2024. He severely underpaced the margin of Donald Trump in this district, and it was a major shock. In 2022, pretty good national environment for the Democrats. He won by 8% when he ran. In 2024, he won by 1. It was a dramatic decrease in his vote share, and with another midterm election, Democrats should win this one. With the pace that they're going in this district, they should win it by a likely margin, and I would not be surprised if on election night we do in fact see that margin. We also have Ryan McKenzie in Pennsylvania's 7th district, and we have Scott Bresnahan in Pennsylvania's 8th district. Both of these districts flipped Republican in 2024. Democrats won them both with Susan Wild and Matt Cartwright in 2022. They flipped Republican in 2024. But look at those margins, 1% and 1.6%. Both of these Republicans have really not proven to be electorally strong. I'm sure both of them underpaced Trump in these districts. These should be relatively easy Democratic flips in 2026. I would put them as lean Democratic wins there. Another win that Democrats should take in a blue state this time is New York 17th, where Mike Lawler won by 6% in 2024, a dramatic increase from his 0.6% win in 2022, which was his first term. That was actually a flip in that seat. It did become very much more Republican that year. So 6% in New York's 17th congressional district. And what do we know? New York was one of the states that trended most towards the Republican Party, towards Donald Trump in 2024. In 2026, in such a more just Democratic-friendly environment, less propensity voters, less low propensity voters turning out means more votes for the Democratic Party. This would be a close one. Mike Lawler will be tough to beat, but I would put New York's 17th at a lean margin right now. So there are some seats, and that's already an 11-point margin in the House for Democrats. It's as easy as that, and those are just easy flips. I will mind you, those are the bare minimum. If Democrats just flip those in 2026, it will be an utter disaster for the party. They should win by much more. And that is just the surface. When you look closer, there are so many seats that Democrats could flip. I also just want to note this isn't that important, but we're in a scenario where Democrats are flipping all these Republican seats. Jared Golden will have no problem hanging on in Maine. Don Davis would have no trouble hanging on in North Carolina's 2nd district. Wexton would, not have trouble hanging on there. Whatever, you get the idea. I won't go through every Democratic seat as well because there's not really much of a point. Every Democratic incumbent hangs on in this scenario, but just keep that in mind. Now, looking over to the blue wall, you've got Wisconsin, where you've got Rebecca Cook running again. She lost in 2024 by 2.7%, a very strong showing in Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district. That was reduced from a 3.7 victory for Van Orden in 2022. So Rebecca Cook is running again in such a Democratic environment. Wisconsin's 3rd district should go to Democrats by a lean margin. Also watch Wisconsin's first. This one could get close in a Democratic friendly environment. I would not put it as a flip yet, but just watch Wisconsin's first district. That might be one that gets closer later on. I would also look to a seat that flipped in 2024. Scott, what's his name? The guy who looks like Quagmire from Family Guy. Tom Barrett. Okay, doesn't he? Um, so Tom Barrett ousted. Uh, um, this is Curtis Hurdle in Michigan's 7th district. Barrett won by 3.7%. This district voted for Slotkin 2 years earlier by 5.4%, in utter collapse for the Democratic Party there in Michigan's 7th congressional district. But again, any district that went to Republicans by less than 4 points in the last election should be an easy flip in 2026 if we're being completely realistic. If 2022 was a neutral environment under Biden for Democrats, then 2026, they're overperforming by more than 4 points. I will just say that right now. I will put that as a lean win. Now, this was a likely seat for Democrats in 2024, a 6-point win for John James in Michigan's 10th congressional district. It's a tiny one in the upper class part of the Detroit metro area. Right, this is where the Reagan Democrats originated. John James won the seat, 6 points. He's now running for governor. He's not running again, so that benefits the Democrats. They would be able to flip or they should be able to flip, I should say, um, a Republican plus 6 seat. That one flips to the Democratic Party. Another one to watch, another state to watch, I should say, should be the state of Arizona. They had really quite a few competitive races in 2024. They had Juan Kiscomani win his second term in Arizona's 6th district, 2.5% margin there. And then you had David Schweiker run in Arizona's first, 3.8%. I'm pretty sure he's not running again, if I remember correctly. 2 narrow wins, 2 seats that Democrats should be pretty comfortable with flipping in 2026. Schweiker should be easy. I would honestly put that as a likely margin if he's not running again, as I did there in Arizona's first. Kiscomani, that'll be tough. Kiscomani, I'm sure, is running again. He has been proven to be, pretty electable, pretty electorally strong there. Also, an instant flip should be Gabe Evans in Colorado's 8th. In 2024, he ousted the Democratic incumbent, Caraveo. That should be an easy flip. I would put that as likely Democrat right now. And then you have Adam Frisch, the Democrat, who lost by 5 points in Colorado's 3rd in 2024. Remember, this is Lauren Boebert's old seat, and then she carpetbagged to the 4th district, but that's another story. In 2022, Boebert won this district by 0.2%. This was on nobody's radar, literally nobody's radar. 4 years earlier, the districts were different, but Boebert won by 6. This district was supposed to get more Republican. Instead, it got more Democratic. Boebert won by 0.2. So Adam Frisch runs again, and then he loses by 5 against a much stronger Republican who won. So I don't see this. I don't know. Honestly, I would. Honestly, I would, because this is a rapidly trending left state. So that's also a very important thing to consider when we're talking about the midterm elections, already a friendly environment for the Democratic Party. That would be one on a very good night. Democrats would, in fact, win. Also, Lauren Boebert's seat, that one could flip in an amazing night for Democrats, but who knows what would happen there. So now Democrats have a whopping lead in the House. It's now 230 to 235. Those, what I just went through, those are like the moderately easy flips. On a solid night for the Democratic Party, on a good night for the Democratic Party, they are flipping all of those. And then it gets to the real good flips. Sorry, I should add one more to that category. That being Utah. Not because it would do that naturally, but they are changing the maps in Utah, and that's certain. So Utah's what district is that? All right, that's Gabe Owens. Is that his name? I feel like that's his name. Gabe Owens district in Utah's 4th. So that's just because they're redistricting. A judge ordered a redistricting of Utah. So 231 to 204. And now we go into the wow, this would be a stunning win, but it is possible. But these are possible flips in 2026. This would be an excellent and amazing night for the Democratic Party in 2026. The first one that comes to mind, for me at least, there's certain districts that I always keep my eye on every election cycle to see if they do get close. One of them would be Montana's 1st district. Remember, Monica Trunnell has proven to be a overperformer, heavily outperforming Harris in this Montana's 1st congressional district. Ryan Zinke won by 8 points in 2024, but remember 2022, he won by 3. This was one of the real shocks, just like Colorado's 3rd. Montana's 1st, he won by 3 against Monica Trunnell. Come 2024, obviously he expanded his margin. My thought is, if he came this close in 2022, there's no reason Democrats can't outperform their 2022 margin in this district by more than 3.2%. This would be one that Democrats could win by a point or so. That would definitely be in my, wow, insane night for the Democrats category. Another one I look to would be North Carolina's 11th district. This is one, sorry, that's the 2022 margin. 2024 margin, slightly changed map. This is Chuck Edwards in North Carolina's 11th district. He won by 13.5% in 2024. But this is a district that is rapidly trending towards the right. This is where Asheville is. Asheville, you might remember it from the flood. This is a very left-leaning sort of hippie, sort of, not so much liberal, but again, lefty sort of city that is the biggest population center in the 11th district, rapidly growing, rapidly trending towards the Democrats. That is one that I would put in the tilt Democratic category. Is it possible for this district to trend 14% in 2 years? Yes, it is. On an insanely good night for the Democrats, they could do that. Not nationwide, trust me, not nationwide. That would be a whole other story. But in a rapidly trending left district like this, in a few districts nationwide, that certainly is possible. And it's something that we have seen, in years past, in 2022 and 2024. I would also, so you've got North Carolina and you've got Montana. Where else would you look? You would look to Arizona's 2nd congressional district, a district that had a Democratic representative up until 2022. But mind you, it was a much more Democratic-friendly map. This was Tom O'Halloran. He won by 3 in 2020. When the map changed in 2022, he lost a seat. Eli Crane won by 7.7. Eli Crane in 2024 won by 9. In a high turnout Democratic election, a 9% lead is a lead if they get lucky. If Republicans completely ignore this seat, if Democrats see the opportunity here, this would be one where they could get lucky and they could win by something like a tilt margin. So watch that one in Arizona's 2nd. Another one, which is tough just because Mary Peltola is not running for this House seat. We know that for sure. But another one would be Alaska. Alaska is a trending blue state, a state trending towards the left. That would be one to watch. Again, I'm staying away from Texas and California. We don't, we sort of know what's happening, but let's just say they cancel each other out. And then, where else would you look? You would look to how could I forget? This one would not be on an excellent night, but Tom Keene would be taken down. He won by 5 in 2024. He'd be taken down by a lean margin, for the Democrats there. Also, Democrats came sort of close in 2024 with John Avlon running against Nick LaLota in New York's 1st district. He won by 11 in 2022 in a slightly different map. And then he won by 10. So John Avlon did prove to be a pretty strong Democratic candidate there. This would have to be a major low turnout Republican district here. But Democrats, it is in the realm possibility for Democrats to win in that seat by tilt margin. I have it characterized, as you can see. Are there any more? I would say one more, just one more. On a crazy good night for the Democrats, Lauren Boebert is being taken down by a tilt margin. She won by 12. That's something Democrats could maybe work with. The final call there, tilt margin. Obviously, this is not a prediction by any means. Sort of a best case scenario. It's what Democrats can hope for on election night. The easy flips, the flips they should flip, and then the wow, this would be an excellent night, crazy flips, but in the realm possibility for the Democrats. So final tally, that puts them at a huge lead. They exceed 2018. They win 235 seats. Republicans win 197. Could you imagine what Democrats could do in the House with, look at that, a 41 seat margin? 41 seats over Democrats. That would be monumental. You would easily you would easily block every piece of Republican agenda legislation that comes from the White House or that comes from the Senate. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. Drop a comment as well to let me hear what your thoughts are on this, and I will see you all later.